The Social Network is perhaps one of the strangely structured Simpsons episodes. This is the 11th episode of the 23rd season, directed by Chris Clements and Mike B. Anderson, and two-thirds of it made perfect sense. And then the final third just felt so bizarre, and I'll discuss what I mean by that with a spoiler warning in a moment. But it actually starts off with a courtroom scene, and Lisa is in court because she's created a social networking website that's actually made people addicted to the point where obviously they're not paying attention to the roads, they're crashing their cars, accidents are happening. People have died because of how addicted they are to this social networking site, and the court is trying to get her to shut it down. And this social networking site is brilliantly called Springface, which I thought was rather awesome. Obviously, giant parody of Facebook. And Lisa created this because she has no real friends and thought, well, maybe if she can get friends online, that's the way to go about it. And she has to learn through some pretty interesting lessons that it's not how many friends you have online that matters at all. Having friends in the real world is much more rewarding, and her friend, well, the people in her school don't necessarily see her as a friend. But if she's going to create this exceptionally popular social networking site, who knows what friendship doors that might open. I don't want to see too much more about it or which characters are on there or how people interact with it, but I really liked it. I think it was a great social commentary, and I think it's just as relevant today as it was in, I don't know, 2011, 2012 when this was released. And obviously, having Lisa creating this I thought was pretty great. But we also have the classic Simpsons nerd characters, and one of my favourite bits, this is something funny that happens, it's not a spoiler for the narrative, but it is obviously a spoiler for what I consider to be one of the funniest moments, and it's when Nelson picks up, I can't remember which of the nerds, but he picks them up and plays Angry Nerds. And for about 4 seconds, we have a parody of Angry Birds. And I just thought it was really delightful and really thoroughly enjoyed it. It starts off brilliantly as well. Well, after the court case, they're in a shopping complex. And I thought that was really brilliantly designed, very creatively done, really interesting, a little random, but still very well done. And for two-thirds of the episode, I thought this is wonderful. And then it finished. Well, it like we got to the end of that part of the narrative, and I thought that felt quick. And I checked the time, and yeah, it'd only been two-thirds of the episode. I won't say what we get in the final third, actually, but what I will say is that it just felt so out of place, and it basically said to me they didn't have enough content to sustain this narrative for 22, 23 minutes, so they decided to put this stuff on the end instead. I didn't actually mind it. I thought it was creative and pretty well done, but this didn't feel like an anthology episode. So it didn't make a lot of sense to me that it was there. So the actual clips themselves I liked, but not necessarily as part of this episode. So, well, one of them definitely connects to this episode, one of them not so much. But I didn't feel like they belonged, but at the same time I didn't mind them in isolation. So it's okay. It's not the end of the world. Ultimately, the Social Network, although not perfect, was actually pretty enjoyable.